I think it's really important when we talk about platforms to remember that we're probably talking about many different things at the same time. So, and particularly that the concept of platform is evolving. And I think maybe Julian would probably be more of the expert on this. But as I have observed, till now, even in currently debated legislation, often platforms are defined based on their function as an intermediary. So intermediation, network effects, and these are sort of the core concepts. But I think nowadays it's probably better to talk about platforms in at least some sense as spheres of consumption that provide tailored, speedy, and even predictive gratification of individual preferences using data processing algorithms. And so you can talk about spheres as gardens or ecosystems, but I think that's probably a more accurate description of what is going on in the market right now. And so when you talk about these ecosystems at that level, now what we've seen in the market emerge is competition between conglomerate-like multifaceted ecosystems that compete with one another on multiple fronts, obviously amongst each other with different core competencies. So to a certain extent, it's true that Amazon competes with Facebook, Facebook with Microsoft, Microsoft with Apple. And so, there's these platform level competition. And then there's also a competition within these ecosystems between the platform and the firms that populate their platforms, the garden, and also among those firms themselves. And I think the emergence of these popular ecosystems, or some people call them digital conglomerates, has actually created complications for competition policy. So prior to the emergence of these large, you might say big tech or platforms, we generally tended to define competition for the market, so competition to be the platform, and then competition on the platform or within the platform, so follow-on competition. And competition policy has always focused primarily or more on competition for the platform. And so you see the discussion among different policymakers about how are we going to create the next Apple, the next Google, ensure that Facebook has competitors, etc. But this ecosystem competition actually complicates the picture and actually makes competition within these ecosystems as important as competition for or competition to be the platform. And so there lies the difficulty. And so you see, I think, the EU DMA, DSA response of really focusing on competition within these different gardens, although I do have some doubts on whether and how effective those proposals will be. Malavika, to answer directly about what factors boost or inhibit competition. So the first, I think, important point to keep in mind is that there is not going to be a general remedy or antidote that works for platforms in general. So again, we're talking about numerous business models, different sectors, different points and types of gardens or ecosystems. And so trying to find a sort of silver bullet here is not going to work. Now, line of business restrictions are widely cited and considered, I think, more these days. I think it stems from the telecommunications or sectoral regulation experience in the past, and these LOBRs have worked to a certain degree there. And so people are thinking about, well, why don't we try it with digital platforms? I do have some doubts of whether that not only would that be effective, but actually beneficial to the consumer, because at the end of the day, what consumers want are these gardens. Now, what we would like to have is multiple sets of gardens. Some may have high walls and some may have low walls. And it's not so much a matter of the height of the wall, but are there portholes that you can enter and come into the garden more easily? I think that's where we want to really focus. So trying to restrict the scope of business of these big platforms under line of business restrictions, I don't think would really work well. It actually goes against how the market is evolving at this time. And even little guys, they want to have their own sort of gardens, or they want to create their own ecosystems. And I don't think LOBRs are the answer. So